Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in. My guest tonight is named Ryan Calder. You may know him from crypto Twitter, Ryan C. Calder. He is a Bitcoiner, cryptocurrency enthusiast, a fitness enthusiast, and this episode is called Confessions of an Exceptional Shitcoiner. Let's bring Ryan in and help you find out why. Hey, Ryan.
Hey, it's great to be here. It's good to see you doing your thing. This is awesome. I'm very
Yeah,
happy
so this is
for
the
you.
first time that we've ever talked offline.
That's true.
Voice
Yeah,
talked.
yeah,
Yeah,
this is great.
yeah. Thanks for coming on. So I really wanted to, randomly reached out to you a couple of weeks ago and really wanted to talk to you because I've noticed, we've been following each other for a couple of years now, and I've noticed that you are one of a very few people who there are, several maximalists who are like, you're my shitcoin exception. Do you know what I'm talking about?
I do, of
Okay.
course.
So why do you think that is?
All right. Well, I knew that this was the topic, and so I didn't do any thinking. I didn't do any planning about it.
Okay.
And I just wanted to come in here and continue to be honest. So I don't really promote shitcoins.
Mm-hmm.
There is a learning curve. And I definitely think that. Have you been paying attention to any of the recent Bitcoin maxi conversations on Twitter in the spaces in the?
I haven't actually. No,
They're
most
incredible.
of the maxis have me blocked, to be honest.
Okay. Are you familiar with Yudi at all?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
There's no way he's blocked you.
Nope, he has not blocked me.
Okay, great. So he's a phenomenal gateway into Bitcoin, and so he
I agree
recently
with
just
that.
yeah, he's great. Have you ever met him?
I actually think that he's obnoxious and stuff sometimes, but generally find him funny.
So I love Bitcoiners that never forget that they're a human being first. And that's one reason why I follow you, is because you really celebrate being a human first. And you're not only interested in Bitcoin and crypto, but you really do a great job at showcasing the gift that we have to be a human being, and really just kind of go the path that you want to go, as long as you're not hurting anyone. And you really represent a lot of great qualities that we get to explore as human beings. And so Yudi just had a really good Twitter Spaces conversation that was hosted by a few other Bitcoin centric maxis.
Mm-hmm.
And they're really starting to explore. I think the maxi culture is really starting to explore the toxicity component of being a Bitcoin maximalist, right?
Well, that's been my experience recently, kind of behind the scenes a little bit, because I've been having conversations with people who won't necessarily talk to me in public, but will talk to me in private, and have lately admitted that things do seem to be do seem to have gotten a bit out of control.
So I definitely want to just be a guest, and I don't want to, kind of control wherever you want to go with this conversation. But there's a lot that can be talked about when it comes to being a Bitcoin maxi. And, we weren't here from the beginning. We weren't here from 2013. I wasn't. I don't think
I wasn't.
And, especially prior to Ethereum, really, right? You had, when Ethereum came along, you had Vitalik saying things like, if a transaction on the blockchain ever costs more than a few pennies, then that's not good money. Or now you have these gas fees that are insane, right? And so they're trying to have all of these bridges and different, Matic network and different solutions, like Raiden network. And, Bitcoiners had to put up with a lot of negative and untruthful narratives that I think just kind of, when it was actually, Vitalik himself actually that started the maxi term.
Yeah, that makes sense, actually.
So, and so I think there's also just a lot of angry people in the world. And so while I want to justify anyone who is really building Bitcoin, any of the engineers, any of the people who have really given their entire days to making sure that Bitcoin maintains and continues to achieve success, to hear a bunch of other vaporware, they are, in my opinion, justified by being upset that either they have to continue to have their lives disrupted with annoying, meaningless questions about other projects, or they have to address the validity of other cryptocurrencies and things like that. It does. I can see how it get annoying, but then there's this other side, the people that want to just be mean to you or block you or not consider you. Like, I think you started, you're really connected to, God, there's this coin like Hex Coin or something, right?
You got it.
Right. And so, I remember, a lot of my life in crypto is pretty peripheral at this point. But I do remember when Peter and Richard went at each other and, the scam stuff. And then, so I don't know anything about Hex Coin. So I also don't believe that Bitcoin is going to be the only cryptocurrency. And I think there's a whole rabbit hole of what is money and, where do you want to put your time and everything. And so for me, I've spent a lot of time in person, at different Bitcoin meetups. I've just tried to learn, listen, and help. And, that allowed me a real connection to a lot of great Bitcoiners in LA. And I was also fortunate enough to be a part of the largest social support system here in LA that, let me meet a lot of people. So, have you ever heard of Blockchain Beach when it was really going out here? In LA?
I heard of, because Wendy's part of it, and then I actually think that my boss, Rock Zacharias, is part of it.
Hey, your boss is Rock?
Yep.
Oh shit! I didn't know that.
Yep.
Rock is incredible.
I agree.
Oh, that's great.
That's
awesome.
So okay, so you think that? Go ahead.
I think that if I continue to talk about it, no. See, that's the thing. I know for a fact there's at least 20 hardcore Bitcoiners that if I continue to talk about, in fact, actually, you know what? You're right, Nicole. You're right. I still am a huge fan of Truffle. I still post things, especially if Crypto Stash is doing anything, or even especially Crypto Wendio. I will absolutely. Lunar Crush. You're right. I still do promote a lot of other things besides Bitcoin, and
even
I still
if
have a lot
it's
of
not like directly you promoting buying them, you're not afraid to discuss other things.
You're right.
And I know that I've seen people in your comments say things to you like, you're the only exception to my no shitcoiner rule.
I really care about these people.
Yeah.
I think I've done a decent amount of trying to be valuable to certain Bitcoiners, not all Bitcoiners.
Mm-hmm.
That maybe they just care. They care that I am who I am in certain regards. But I was, yeah.
Yeah, so I think that the same is true with me. So, my involvement with cryptocurrency has been on multiple levels and changed several times throughout the year. Like, I work for a crypto marketing and PR company, and I recently got promoted. I'm now the marketing director of Lunar Digital Assets.
No way!
Yes, it's very exciting. Then other than that, I've been a journalist in cryptocurrency and written for crypto publications about a variety of issues. And I got involved with cryptocurrency in 2016, both as an investment and as an extension of my doctoral research, which I had quit because I saw tribalism evolving within crypto. And that was
in 2016?
In 2016, yeah. So around the time of the Ethereum DAO hack.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I've like been embedded in several different crypto communities, kind of understanding like their positions and why they've become isolated, marginalized, maximalist, various different characteristics and, to different degrees. And one community that I have spent some time with is Bitcoin Core. In fact, Bitcoin Core is who I started with because I knew that once I went anywhere else, they would never talk to me. So it does feel like that's starting to change. But now I've been heavily involved with like the Hex community, and now it's, Hex Pulse for the last year and a half. And Hex is like the most hated cryptocurrency, I've got to say.
Okay.
You don't think so? Have you noticed that? Like that?
Well, so here's the thing about language, right? So, I don't do interviews often, obviously, like why would I? But yet, and the way that we're going to talk, it definitely sounded like your enunciation, your tone was inviting the response from me at that point to start talking about my opinion on why is Hex the most hated, coin. Let me ask you this. Why would you leave the Bitcoin Core community?
Because my intention was always to study a different, a bunch of different crypto communities.
And what got you into Hex?
Because they were really like being attacked a lot, so I was interested.
You
because
love the underdog.
Yeah. Well, and because
See,
it was
that's exactly what I'm talking about with you. I've seen it ever since I've met you. I'm going to be stepping out of my lane. I'm going to say something that I want to kind of give you a great compliment. For me, this is a compliment.
Okay.
You're incredibly brave.
Thank
you. You're one of the people that if I had to build the greatest team on earth, I would specifically want you to be a part of my team because I have seen you repeatedly do things that balance out perception publicly. I've seen you in conversations, in groups. I know how I don't know you, but I can recognize how smart you are as a person. And you'll literally see 3 or 4 different points of view in a conversation, and you'll pick the one that has the least representation. And that's exactly what you just did now.
Yeah.
For your response for Hex. I admire that so much.
Thanks.
But I think there's a couple of things about Hex.
Okay.
That, one, for me, Hex represents an opportunity to get rich.
So doesn't Bitcoin?
Okay, great. Absolutely.
Okay.
So I just think that most people choose other than Bitcoin. I almost tweeted something like this today. There's so many tweets where I think about tweeting. I'm like, I just don't have time to try to formulate that. But people avoid Bitcoin because they want something where they feel like they're the first round of investing. And I'm asking you about Hex, and I love your answer. I'm pretty much done with that. But I do think that when, like, for instance, Ray Dalio just publicly got quoted for saying that the government can kill Bitcoin if it wants to, right? And so while that is still a fight, we're out here trying to create all these other protocols, which I'm not against innovation. First of all, I'm not a tech guy. I really shouldn't have my opinion on this, but I just see that, El Salvador just adopted, Bitcoin pretty much. And that's a big fuck you to the IMF. And we need that and all that good stuff.
Yeah.
I just think that while the reason I'm asking you about Hex is because other than, I guess, lack of a better word, your morals or your character view, why are you with Hex?
So I actually don't think that there's like anything morally wrong with Hex, and I'm not sure.
No. What I'm saying is because your answer was they were getting picked on, and so that made me look at them, or I wanted to whatever. But I guess I'm kind of asking, are you in it for the tech kind of question? Like, why are you giving your strength and your support to Hex?
Well, right now, because I'm studying it, like as an anthropologist and a journalist, that's a really big part of it. I'm also like heavily invested in it at this point, not necessarily because I started, like because I put a whole bunch of money into it, but because it grew so much faster and so much
when you
more
posted that
than the rest of my portfolio.
Okay, great. But
so like, and then, as a result of learning about the community, I have learned about the technology and about some of the things that the technology can enable. And one of the reasons that I was attracted, and when I got into cryptocurrency with my money in 2016, I did not get into Bitcoin, not because I was against it, but because it was $600 and that was expensive. What I got into with was Ethereum. And part of the reason that I liked Ethereum was that, not really about the like fast free transactions. It was because I wanted, I thought that it could serve as the basis for the potential for like a potential universal basic income someday, because of the ability, because it was supposed to be that like eventually you would be able to stake it and your stakes would gradually earn more. And then you could just live off of the interest that you had generated.
Yeah.
So Hex, you can. So like, I didn't even know this when I got into it, but like, I like Hex because of the time value of money aspect. There's a comment on the screen. Someone
said, great. I read it. Yeah.
Okay, great. Yeah. So point out as a Hex staker, you can be a Bitcoin miner without buying mining equipment. And you also don't pay electric bills because mining Hex is free.
Great. So the problem with that statement right there?
What?
You're not an actual have your own full Bitcoin node. You don't have control over that. That's not Bitcoin. And I'm just going to say that. Now, for me, there's a lot of questions that I would want to explore if I was to look at Hex and, the decentralization factor of it. But to back up what you're talking about Ethereum, it was all projected, which still technically hasn't been done yet, as far as I know. With
Ethereum. It was, but Hex is actually
2021.
And no, totally. I know. Trust me, I've criticized Ethereum publicly. I've criticized Hex publicly. Recently even. I think that I'm like one of the people who has never been, and you said like I'm brave. I've never been afraid to say what I think, even if that's going to be unpopular among the most, the people who are my biggest supporters.
Yeah. And so I think in line with this, the reason most Bitcoin maxis that I'm friends with, there's a couple that don't follow me and don't talk to me, and I like completely help them and their meetups, but it's because they're so tribe connected, and good for them. I want that for them. But ultimately, I think that the reason why a lot of these Bitcoin maxis like still interact with me is because they know that I'm not really fucking involved in any of this stuff. Mm-hmm. Like they don't care about they know that I'm not really going to influence anyone in any, certain way. And so they see me as just a friend. They don't see me as a figure in this space that they need to defend against or try to. Does that make sense?
Sure. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I like that. I like that a lot of my relationships so far in this space with everyone has just been purely from a social standpoint, not necessarily I'm going to stake I have actually branched out. I will 100%. That's why I tweeted last week about Bitcoin Magazine and Lunar Crush. Did you see that?
I don't think I did.
Do you know Lunar Crush?
Of course.
Okay. Those guys are probably the most pure form of what crypto represents you will ever meet. Yeah.
Yeah, no, of course. Rock's been on Lunar Crush.
Oh, yeah?
A couple of times.
Oh, that's great.
A couple of times in the last couple of months. So yeah, I totally didn't like bring you on here to like try to show you Hex. Like, I can talk
that's
about.
Cool. We can talk about Hex.
But so this is what someone says, like Hex does earn yield without the need to give up your keys. So like
Earning yield is not the same as Bitcoin mining, period. That's great if you can earn Bitcoin. I'm interested in that. That's cool. I want to make money. I want to have more Bitcoin. If I can earn Bitcoin in a very inexpensive way without the electric power and all that, and I can, earn Hex that seems to have value, and that sends Bitcoin to one of my, multi-sig wallets or something like that, that's great. But you are definitely not Bitcoin mining. You're earning yield. I get it. Does that make sense to you?
Sure. Yeah. No. And
Because
I wasn't saying that.
I don't
I
want to
wasn't
take
saying that it's
lightly
really
what Bitcoin mining yet. No, I get it, but I definitely don't want to take away what. See, for me, I'm a Timothy May guy. That's very important to me. The Crypto Manifesto.
Okay.
And what we're doing with peer-to-peer transactions that's censorship resistant. I'm all for Hex being that, if that's what it is. I also see how pre-mines can be a way to create your own economy, and even though you could technically argue that Bitcoin was a pre-mine because no one really knew about it, it really wasn't a pre-mine. But the ability to be a Bitcoin miner and no one can stop you is really important. And
okay, well, so the same is true of Hex. You can be a Hex staker and no one can stop you because you never give up your admin keys.
Exactly. And so to say that only Bitcoin can be that is ridiculous.
Right, yeah.
It's absurd. And I would never take that position.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to hate on any Bitcoin maxi that wants to take that position.
Oh, you know what? Like most of the people in Hex, or a lot of the people in Hex, are Hex maximalists, and I'm always like, I know it's a real thing, like a real thing.
I get it. There's Crips and Bloods too.
Yeah. But so like I think like sometimes I'm kind of the exception to the no shitcoiners rule from the Hex, from the Hexican perspective. And then I'm also sometimes the exception to that rule from Bitcoin maximalist perspective and from other, tribal perspectives, just because I have spent a lot of time personally with a lot of the people and a lot of the communities. So somewhat similar to, what you've done. And so I like really wanted to get your perspective on why that is. And it makes sense that it's because you're a person first and because you have personal ties, right?
Yeah. And I also think that there's a lot of grace too. There's a lot of Bitcoiners. I wouldn't say a lot. I mean, definitely a handful. I was just on the phone a few days ago asking for the most up-to-date way to run a full node and start, long-term saving in Bitcoin again with a Bitcoin maxi. And, we were on the phone for a while, and I just think there's a lot of grace. And, if I was out there saying XRP is the GOAT and I was like an XRP rep, I don't think I would have as many Bitcoin maxi friends.
Probably not. No.
I'm aware of that. Also, if I was a Blood, I wouldn't roll through my Crip hood, wearing red. I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't be disrespectful. But I understand where they're coming from to a certain extent too. But I'll say it here. I think it's a little embarrassing, and hypocritical that you want to talk shit about Peter Schiff, and then take a look at some of these things and say that they're not needed, or they're, everything's better than fiat at this point.
Yeah, no, for sure. I agree with that. And I agree that it's hypocritical. And I agree that hypocrisy has like very much extended in to other crypto communities, including Hex, where like, one day everyone's laughing about the guy on the stage in Miami talking about toxicity as a feature, not a bug. And the next day, those very same people are exhibiting, similar or worse toxic behaviors.
Well, no, that's exactly was the point, was that he was saying that toxicity is actually valuable in the Bitcoin community. So here's the thing.
No, I know that's what he was saying.
Oh.
I know that's what he was saying. there have been a lot of people who have criticized that position, of course, because, you know, lots of people have not liked the toxicity that comes out of the Bitcoin community. And then, you know, very, very shortly thereafter exhibited those same behaviors.
What do you mean? The people who knocked it started? So
the guy who made I can't remember his name. The man who made the presentation at Bitcoin Miami about toxicity as a feature, not a bug.
Yeah.
Okay. So the next day and later that day on social media and really everywhere you went where you were with crypto people, they were talking about how absolutely absurd and ridiculous that position is. I mean, either they were supporting it, right? Or talking about how ridiculous that position is.
Yeah.
Yet, sometimes, many times, the same people who criticized that position have also exhibited that
so that
behavior.
Is what you're saying. That is what you're saying. Yeah, because most people don't have self-awareness. And most people haven't had to hold themselves accountable ever in their life for being an actual hypocrite. I would like to think that I still have some stuff to learn, but that is something that I hope that I'm really aware of if I'm being a hypocrite. The funny thing about that is right after that, Eric Voorhees spoke next. And Eric, did you hear that part when he got up there and what he said?
Yeah.
I loved it. And I love Eric. And, you know,
no,
Eric
I love Eric too. And I've been kind of like sometimes disappointed because I love his message. I love what he's about. And then I've also seen him exhibit some like sometimes toxic behaviors where I'm like, hey, bro, like.
In what way though?
Okay, so so very early on when you know, Hex has kind of like gained some adoption, like you know, it's less hated now than it was a year and a half ago. But very, very early on when it was still very, very hated, Eric and the, you know, Shapeshift team agreed to list Hex on Shapeshift. So because they're like, oh, we're getting tons of requests for this, let's do it. Then I've seen once Shapeshift announced the Fox airdrop token, they actually used a line that came from the Pulse advertisement, which is like the largest airdrop in history.
Okay.
So I pointed out like, hey, Eric, and then slightly before that, someone had commented about Hex on one of his threads where he was talking about how, like, you know, anti-toxicity he is. And then he was like, hey, Dan Emmons, Hex is pure shit. And I was like, this is like, yeah, you know, like, really, Eric?
So, you know, one of the things that I don't like about Hex has nothing to do with the protocol. It's
totally. I know exactly what you're talking about.
Well, it was a bet that Richard Hart, right? That's the guy's name, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he made a bet that was supposed to go to, I think, Ross. And there was some drama with that. This whole thing, especially in 2018, 19, 2017, 18, was like drinking through a fire hose, right? So there's only so many things that I can continue to care about while I'm also building my life. I was in a marriage at the time. There's, you know, a lot of relationships I was building. I could only care so much. So by the time it got to him and Peter going through their thing, I just remember that he just seemed like a little bitch, honestly. I'm sorry. I'm going to, take some freedom on your live stream and just say like, and so even though I want to be more patient, I want to be more loving, I just looked at the whole situation. I was like, man, there's so many, cryptos to pay attention to, mostly Bitcoin for me. And I got all these other relations. I'm just going to stop looking at Hex. And I will say this, everything that I said about you, it's just so amazing to see you do your thing. When I saw you fully commit to Hex, I knew there was something good about it.
Thank you.
I'm serious.
Thank you.
But I still don't give a shit. I'm not trying to pay attention to a lot of cryptos, and I'm
so
probably
I've got this. I've got this
okay.
quote. I've got this quote up on the screen right now because it's like very much how I've always said that I feel about cryptocurrency. I give zero. Oh no, not necessarily the second part, but like
you see what I'm saying?
So I say this.
So again, that's a comment that's driven by greed, and I get it, but also that's a toxic comment. And it is a passive-aggressive toxic comment, but I want to say this. Francis Pouleau is my favorite Bitcoin maximalist. Besides Vivek, it's just Vivek is he's in a separate category for me. Do you know who Vivek is?
Mm-mm.
Oh, man. Vivek is great, but Pouleau is definitely a Bitcoin maxi, and he wants to be a Bitcoin maxi. And I'm pretty sure, I think Francis was on that panel that you referenced in Miami. And I understand Francis's position is that you weed out the people that don't need to be there faster when you're toxic. And I understand that. I understand a smash and grab type situation, but I think you and I are very similar in this. But I would love to see Bitcoin, also come with the strongest characters. And for me, like, do you know who Jocko Willink is? Discipline equals freedom. He's a famous Navy SEAL, retired.
Mm-hmm.
He has a podcast. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
He, for me, one of the things that he said that changed my life, which I'm still not perfect in, is when you get angry, you show weakness. You show that you're emotionally unstable.
Mm-hmm.
I get angry a lot, and I try not to, but when you are taking like a toxic position where I see people lash out and it's just, you just look unraveled. You look dysregulated. What are you talking about? I mean, are you not able to see that this person just clearly, there's nothing wrong with wanting to get rich? You could go look at Hal Finney's earliest quotes and he's like, dude, we're all going to be mega rich.
Yeah.
Or we're not going to have any. And so I think welcoming Yudi's approach is, why are you trying to be an asshole when we're trying to grow Bitcoin? They're contradicting.
So someone's saying, yep, I have Jocko's book in my library. He represents Hex.
It's awesome.
So, okay, so here's a question for you. So you say that Richard seemed like a little bitch in that interview.
Only because I'm being an asshole right now.
Okay. So like everyone in the comments, okay, so what I was trying to say earlier is like my position has always been that I don't care what's like, I give zero, I'm like, I give 0 fucks what's in your wallet. Why would I? Like 0. But like, cause yeah, like why would I, right? I mean, all that matters to me is what's in mine. But like, but to get away from that and kind of bring it back to what you said about like Richard, and because you're just being an asshole right now, like you're just, eliciting some kind of emotional response from the people who are watching this because you know that they're primarily Hex fans.
I don't know. I don't know anything about Richard Hart's connection to Hex or if he's glorified or not. I'm just, okay.
But so what is it about his interview with Peter McCormick that made you feel like Richard is a little bitch? Because like, okay, I'll say this, like I've interviewed Peter. I like Peter. I'm one of the only people who is in Hex who is like, I still like Peter. Even though, we disagree about currency. But like, so what is it about? Because when I watch that interview, like I'm watching 2 people who I like both of them,
Sure.
And like my interpretation is not that Richard is a little bitch. So I'm curious about how you get there.
Cool. So did you just call Peter the little bitch in that interview?
So I mean, I like Peter, so I don't want to call him a little bitch. But like,
you just did, right?
No,
so
but I'm saying that if that's the terminology that we're using to distinguist between these 2 men who are on camera,
it was Peter who was the little bitch, not Richard to you.
Then it was Peter who was the little bitch in the interview.
Great. So first of all, Peter will have a drink with you right now. Like he's not going to care if you call him a little bitch.
No, I know.
And it wasn't that interview. So I never watched that interview. What I watched was snippets of either them on Twitter or, you know, maybe they had like a live dialogue back and forth. I just remember Richard sitting in some gaming chair and whatever, talking about, you know, how Hex isn't a shit coin and there's a whatever. And so I tried to pay attention to whatever was going on there. It was prior to that I'm pretty certain that the reason Peter was even looking at Richard was because Richard had made a bet. And if he lost, the money he had to pay was going to go support Free Ross.
Okay.
And then Richard came up with some bitch reason. Pure bitch. He's a bitch. Yes, I'm wearing a Free Ross shirt. Yes, I'm biased. Yes, just like I was talking about.
Hey,
you know,
I'm a very like I Free
I know you are.
Ross.
Yeah.
Huh?
And I know.
Yeah.
And so, but the thing is that I don't want to lose my, you know, stability. You know, just mentioned Jocko, you know, and not getting emotional. I'm sensitive when it comes to Ross, because I believe that there is somewhat. I don't know what the bet was even over. I don't know who suggested that the proceeds would go to Ross. I don't know anything about it. But I do think that Ross is used in ways where people aren't honest. I've actually seen it. I've seen people promote their certain things and say the proceeds are going to Ross. They never do. And not that they're bad people. I've just also seen a lot of people waste Lynn's time. And she is the best mother on the planet.
Yes, she is. Absolutely. I've interviewed Lynn. I've talked to her, you know.
Yeah. And so Richard, just so you know, lost a bet and then came up with a bullshit excuse for why he didn't have to pay it.
Okay. So this is something
that is what led Peter to even give a fuck about Hex. I'm pretty sure. And once that happened, Richard didn't do anything to Ross. I don't think that never happened. But
so there's people asking, sorry, for any
I hear it. I don't want to say that Richard did anything to Ross.
No, there's people asking. I just want to say there are people asking who is Ross. So Ross Ulbricht is the founder of Silk Road, which was the first dark web marketplace. The intention was that people could sell anything that they wanted, you know, accepting guns and like humans, right? I think that those were the exceptions. And the marketplace used Bitcoin as its currency. So Ross was later caught and convicted in some really like illegal ways, and then he was sentenced to a very, very like draconian punishment of 2 consecutive life sentences plus 42 years. Anything else to add about who is Ross?
Ross was a libertarian, and he was raised in one of the purest families with excellent love and support. He was an Eagle Scout. He's from Texas. He has 2 degrees, his last one from Penn State. He could have run the world. And he tried. When he learned about Bitcoin, he read the crypto manifesto. He taught himself how to code, built his own website. He did it all in a way where, for the first time ever, we had a completely free market globally. And he was very successful. And there was a lot that went on during that time where Silk Road was, you know, doing things for Bitcoin. Like the first time Bitcoin paired the dollar was because of Silk Road activity. You know, it allowed people to, you know, obtain things in a very safe way, which never was able to happen before. And then there were also some other things that happened behind the scenes that the account that Ross was caught operating was involved in, you know, some bribing and you know, some arguably really bad things, but no one ever got murdered. No one ever got killed. It was all fake. And there's much more I can say about how Ross was caught and convicted. But he is never been charged for a crime prior to this.
Yep.
First time offender,
He was
nonviolent
like
crimes.
28 years old
His
or younger, right? Like
younger,
23.
and yeah, and his trial, his jury was his rights were massively violated because there was evidence they couldn't prove that they were allowed to show the jury, and then that was clearly used in his conviction. There was just a lot of things that had happened. I believe, and the judge actually at the time of the sentence gave a monologue, and it showed that that Ross was heavily held responsible for the properties of Bitcoin, using it for what Bitcoin could be used for, in my opinion. But so Ross Ulbricht, you know, there's a lot that I want to say about Peter McCormick. And Peter, I consider, even though we don't hang out, we don't really talk, Peter is a friend of mine for sure, for life. I know Peter. Peter has an incredible heart.
I like Peter.
Yeah. Peter has an incredible heart, though. Yeah. And I don't know Richard. I just know that he, you know, really fucked up on that bet. I think, you know, and obviously, again, I'm biased, and the bet had to do with Ross.
Here's a question for you, and here's what I wanted to promise you is that I've never heard this story before. So no matter what, I'm gonna go and get to the bottom of it. But here's something that someone in the community is posting. What if Richard or Hexicans donated to the Free Ross campaign to settle this beef that may or may not exist?
That would be incredible.
I think that we can.
You know,
I mean, I think there are a lot of us who stand for that cause, you know? Yeah,
you know, I appreciate that very much. And the real reason I appreciate that is for Lynn. You know, I think it's incredible. I've been with Lynn personally a few times to watch what her, you know, son means to everyone. And if you don't know who Ross is, I highly encourage you to see what he's currently doing. He just wrote 2 articles called Space and Death. You know, they're separate articles. You know, he's teaching, you know, prisoners how to meditate. He's growing plants in his cell.
Oh, I know. I read his blog, and I'm always like, Ross, you know, like he's just, yeah.
I've been to jail. I've never spent time in prison, but I've been locked up for weeks in county, and you know, I've made mistakes, and Ross has never made any of the mistakes that I've made in life. And he saw Bitcoin and built exactly what you should build with Bitcoin. And yeah, I mean, that's all I guess I want to say about Ross, because I can talk about it forever, especially with you. If the Hex community does do that, it would mean a lot to Lynn.
Well, so here's what I want to do. I want to start, you know, there are a lot of people who are like, well, I want to hear the other side of this story. So we're going to get the other side of this story. That's going to be the next, like the next big action item on my agenda is getting the other side of this story. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to reach out to Peter. I'm going to reach out to Richard, and I'm going to see, you know, how much representation I can give from either or both side.
Right. Now here's the thing. So the other thing is, I just came on here to hang out with you and get and meet you. I'm pulling from my memory, so this whole thing, I could be completely wrong.
Okay.
But I'm pretty sure that's exactly everything that had happened, and I apologize, but I just don't care about a lot of the crypto anymore. And I don't want to disrespect anybody, but I could have maybe just not remembered correctly because I'm on to other stuff now.
Sure. Well,
but let's dig down into it.
So if that's the case, though, I mean, whether you ever get into Hex or not, you know, like that is not the point of doing this. If that's the case, then, you know, then we should. And, you know, it's a good cause. Hexicans are generous, and that's true. I'm unaware if you've been paying attention to the chart of Hex versus anything else. Have you?
No.
No? Okay. Let me go grab something for you, and then I'm going to share my screen.
Okay. I'm going to get something to drink.
Okay, that's perfect.
You're going to show me a hex chart right now?
I'm going to show you hex versus.
So is hex money? Is it what's
So
the
it's
purpose of
actually
hex?
it's staking. It's designed to be a staking token. So it's for staking. I don't know why Apple is on this chart, but we're just gonna have to deal with that. So hex is hex is it's a cute doggy. I have a little one like that too. So hex is a token that's built on, it's an ERC20 token, and it's designed, it's a CD. It's a crypto CD. So you choose how long. You don't have to lock it up. You can hold it liquid, just like you can hold the dollar liquid. And if you want to, you can lock it for various time periods.
And you would lock it based on returns you would get, or the incentive to lock it is to hold up the supply and
is to earn interest. And the longer that you lock it for, the higher the interest rate that you earn is.
What's happening? Is it rehypothecated when you're locking it up, or why are you able to collect interest on stuff that you just happen to say you're not going to spend for the next year?
Well, because your coins are locked into a smart contract. So if you were to try to move them before your term, you would pay very, very heavy penalties.
Right. So when I lock up hex for 6 months, I get a certain return at the end of that 6 months. Or if I lock it up for 5 years, I get more of a return. While it's locked up, why does it deserve to be collected interest? Is the hex DAO
So it's kind of like, it functions like a lending and borrowing market because hex's value is increasing. So those people who are holding liquid hex or short-term hex stakes that they can then cash out are
when they're cashing out, those fees are going to you?
They're not fees for cashing out. So what? So it works like the bond market.
Okay.
So like the people who are having the liquid hex and spending the liquid hex and potentially taking profits as the price goes up or down are borrowing from the people who are staking and earning interest. So it's got a locked annual 3.69% inflation.
Okay, so is there any more hex being generated?
Any more new hex? 3.69% of the supply increases annually.
Interesting. So there's an inflation rate of almost 4% a year.
But it's a fixed inflation rate.
Okay, but your money becomes less on 4% a year.
Yes, but nobody staking is earning less than 4% per year. In fact, like the longer stakers right now are earning more like 40%, and the shorter stakers are earning like, 12.
That's great. You're printing money for now.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Anyway, so I want to share my screen. Because I really did not bring you here at all to try to sell you on hex. I just brought you here because I felt like, sometimes we have some things in common and I wanted to talk about them. So, but just because people are like, has he seen the hex chart? I'm like, okay, let's show him.
And then I have a meeting that I need to jump into no later than like 8:03.
No worries. I have somewhere to be too, actually. Okay.
Awesome. What are you doing?
I just have plans with a friend.
It's awesome.
So on this chart, you'll see 3 assets. One is Apple, one is Bitcoin, and one is Hex.
Got it. This is on the monthly.
So this is
daily. This is the daily?
Nope, this is actually the annual chart. So this is 1 year.
Okay.
Let me make sure of that. So this shows from this shows from January 27th of this year till today.
Mm-hmm. And when did Hex launch?
December 19th of 2019.
Can we go back to that?
Yeah, I don't know if we can do that on TradingView, but yeah, we can definitely make this thing go back.
What is Hex's value right now?
Hex right now is worth 38 cents, guys. Correct me if I'm wrong, about 38 cents.
Okay. So is there any type of burn with the 4% inflation or?
Yeah, so every time when your coins are locked up, they are burned. And then the other way that Hex sorry, what?
What do you mean?
So here we go.
Burn my locked up coins? How am I gonna get them back?
When your coins are burned when they're locked.
Okay, what do I get back when the locking period ends?
So what you get in exchange for the Hex that you lock is something called T-shares, and your T-shares are what enable you to print more money. And then when you mint your Hex, so you at the end of your stake, you mint your Hex, and then your Hex it comes into existence. So it is and the value of the T-shares gets burned and goes back into the value of the Hex.
That sounds fun.
Yeah, it is
fun.
So do you see this right here? So here's the beginning of Hex on TradingView.
Yeah, I got it.
Yeah, so May 18th, 2020, and then you can see how the chart goes.
So how many people do we have in the chat?
Let's see. We have 96.
And are these all hexagons?
Definitely not all hexagons, but there's a heavy Hex contingent here.
It's awesome. So does everyone holding Hex believe that Hex is going to the price of Matic, or do they think that it's going to go to the price of Solana?
So I think that there's a variety of opinions, and a lot of hexagons do think that the long term, long term, Hex is going to go. Well, okay. So what's Solana at right now? By the way, wasn't there some kind of massive drop?
or something? Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they're being made fun of because they restarted their network or something like that. But I'm pumped for you. I think you represent the best of what we are, and as people, and to see you be involved in this community and genuinely be interested in, Bitcoin is still an experiment, and I think that Hex deserves to be a fucking experiment. I think Zilliqa, Solana, good for them. I think that
I'm for all of it. I work for LDA and we represent Polygon, and a lot of hexagons really, really, really hate Polygon. So
I really I resent the fact that I love Rock, because I should be a multi-millionaire, and because of Rock, I should have had a ton of Matic early. I knew exactly when I heard him talking about it. I've been to a lot of LDA meetups. They produce nothing but quality. And are you going to be doing any meetups soon? I'm so happy for you. Congratulations again. Lunar is awesome.
Thank you. So I've been working for LDA since January, and this is actually my second promotion since I started working there. So, but this was a big one. This was kind of like,
Well, I hope that, please send me another message and let me know if you do anything in the area in Southern California. I will be more than happy to show up, and for a little while. I think in 2018, maybe 19, Lunar was doing some really cool meetups.
Really? I didn't know that.
Yeah.
So now I'm gonna mention this to Rock tomorrow. Hey, what can we start? Or maybe he'll watch this, or I'll message him tonight and be like, hey, watch my stream, because that's a good idea. We should.
I would love to see Rock again.
Yeah. Well, he lives over there by you. He lives in LA.
Yeah. I don't know. He could have moved, but yeah, I would love to do that.
Okay, well,
we don't need to get into it, but if you're not local, then you should take a trip out here and come to heaven on earth.
Yeah, no, I would love to. I was thinking the other day, like, that my daughter and I need to go see our friends who live near Disneyland. So
I didn't know you had a daughter.
I do, yeah. She's
Oh,
10.
she's got to be the coolest.
She is the coolest.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah. Disneyland for sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
Cool.
So I'll let you know, and then I'm going to mention
Yeah.
to Rock that we should start doing LDA meetups again.
Yeah.
Ryan, thanks for being here. It was great to have you. I really appreciate you taking the time to talk. And I know that you don't come on stream often. And no matter what, I'm going to look into this free Ross thing.
Thank
and
you.
we're going to probably start, I'm going to see what we can do about starting a free Ross fund or contributing to the free Ross fund as a unit.
Yeah, and I would love to see you circle back. Lynn's all situated now. She recently moved, and she's getting ready to start the next phase of everything that she's working on.
She moved again? So was Ross moved again?
No. So, where she was, it was really a great support for her relationship with Ross and all of that. But as it turns out, I think her experience in Miami with the Bitcoin conference and see, that's another thing too, is that one of the reasons why I'm so committed to Bitcoin, especially, is because I've seen the Bitcoin community specifically in their commitment to Lynn and support of Ross. But so when we were in Miami, she really recognized the growing state and everything that Florida is offering her son and who's there in the Bitcoin community, and so she made a very important strategic move to Florida.
Okay,
so she's doing her thing.
Yeah, I can totally understand that. She's always moved with Ross, so I was like, oh, I didn't know that Ross was
visiting. So she still has her friends, and there's a strong community in that area where she was close to Ross. So she'll be visiting. She'll see Ross often, but in order to really help and take everything to the next level over this next year or two, it was clear that Florida was where she needed to be.
Okay, well, that's good.
Yeah.
It's good that she did that for herself then. Good. I'm glad for Lynn. Yeah. All right,
it's
Ryan.
So great to meet you.
It was really great to meet you too. And I'll send you a message shortly with what I figure out next. And thanks for the information.
Hell yeah. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye, Hex community.
Bye, everyone.
See you.